Welcome back, sports fans. This is Moving the Needle podcast. Another episode coming your way, but you're not here for me to blabber on. Man, I got royalty in the house. I got a hype man. I'm honestly so stoked that he was keen to come on. We've been going back and forth on getting a date, but it is a world champion of freeride mountain biking, the winningest FMB rider to date. First to win the triple crown of slopestyle. I was there. Nicholi Rogatkin, the hype man, dude. I've been pumped for a lot of guests, but I know we're gonna go around here and get each other psyched.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for having me. Thanks for the hype intro. Love that, and stoked to be on with you, bro.
Dude, I don't know if I can do you justice, man. Like I can wear a few hats out there in the commentary. I can do the serious analysis. I like to feel like I can toss the joke in there, but you're just a natural hype man. Like people just they see you're natural in the commentary, you're natural at the bottom, getting the boys hyped for a bigger show. Where on earth does that come from?
Man, I don't know. I think I just have as you've been saying, just like that natural hype factor, always. And luckily for me, since I started competing, especially since coming into mountain biking, I feel like I've been blessed with a lot of camera time, like whether it's an interview, whether it's like a little clip for a company, just like a lot of time on camera, which has obviously made me feel more comfortable on camera. Whereas some people, like some riders, get up there and they kind of feel awkward up there. Whereas I just like I said, been so blessed with that camera time that I feel like I'm comfortable. And then when you combine that with how hyped I just actually feel, it just makes me look like I'm loving it out there, which I always am, bro.
Yeah, some people said that to me. Oh, you're natural, like you're born for this. And I was like, I don't know. I think it's like you said, depending on how you grew up in the industry. And there was like a lot of video updates going on. It was like before social media, but all the teams had like these highlight videos to do off the races. But you and your age, like I guess you had TV and BMX and then the social media thing. And I guess it's just infectious, right? Like people like hanging out with people in a good mood naturally, like a camera call as well. Like, how can you not have a good time around him and you as well? I think it's infectious when an interviewer gets there. Like they kind of know they're going to get something good from you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like those moments, like riding or in the booth or doing the field reporting, like I've been doing for Crankwork, sometimes as a guy who's just rode so many events and so many competitions, I experienced it this year because I got to do more of it while I was injured. And you just have that natural feeling from your body when the event gets going, those almost nerves that get flowing, that excitement, that nervous excitement that you don't know what's about to happen, but it's probably going to be kind of crazy in some way. It's just I bet you have that same feeling now at races and stuff. No, you agree with that?
100%. And I enjoy being on this side. You're obviously still competing, but you were forced to maybe see what the future might look like. 100% when the call time is 30 seconds to go. I'm pretty jittery and it's really nerve-wracking, kind of like a race or dropping into slope style. And then you got to calm yourself down and you're here for a reason. And then as soon as we go live, it just clicks. It just somehow clicks. Like the nerves just dissipate and hopefully I don't blabber too much and provide some sort of value. And I guess it's like not crashing on the first trick or in the first turn. You get used to being uncomfortable. And yeah, I hear you loud and clear with that. I feel like you burst on the scene pretty quick in mountain biking and you seem to be really very well received, even though you were, pushing the limits from early on and doing a lot of world's firsts. What brought you to mountain biking from being a BMX for so long and being a professional at a young age?
So the story for me starting mountain biking is kind of worked out so well for me. I don't really know where to start it because um, when I was 13 years old, I started riding a lot of masses of dirt shows out in Europe.
At
which was
13.
an insane opportunity. Yeah, at 13, that was like a crazy world to be thrown into. That world of everyone sending their gnarliest tricks every night, then hardcore partying. I was getting snuck into these European clubs and stuff at such a young age. I was like, I think I like back then I couldn't believe what was happening. So the reason I'm talking about that though is because in those shows there were like some absolutely legendary slopestyle riders. Guys like Martin Soderstrom, guys like Yannick Grenieri, Sam Reynolds, of course. Who am I forgetting right now? Andreu Lakondagi was like heavy on at that time. It was like a heavy, very skilled group of slopestyle riders, and my riding in BMX was, I started out in the skate parks, of course, but then it was transitioning very much into dirt jumping because of Masters of Dirt. I was riding these big jumps. I was like very motivated by learning big tricks and doing big tricks. So I feel like my riding in BMX graduated, like it escalated more towards like a big dirt jump rider versus like a park rider. Um, and then slopestyle at the time, um, obviously I was watching all those guys compete, the guys that I was riding these shows with, and slopestyle seemed unbelievable, and it just seemed very kind of interesting to try to transfer the skills over because some of the skills seem pretty similar, at least trick wise. Um, and I had Highland Mountain Bike Park pretty close to me, which had a full on slope course, full like gold event course. So Martin Soderstrom was super helpful to me. He hit up Specialized team manager Jeff Rogers at the time. They got me hooked up with a P3 hardtail bike, and then I just started trying to learn all my BMX tricks on it. And trick wise, it went fine, but then the features like the new flat drops, new cannon logs, new step downs, all that these new features which I had never seen or heard of, like that was a very hard learning experience um, to get the tricks going, not only on the bigger bike but on those like bigger features and these like bad conditions competing, windy and all that stuff. Um, but I feel like the first competitions for me in slopestyle went really well. But you're saying I was well received, bro? They hated the no visor.
Well,
Everyone hated
no,
it.
you as a person were well received. I don't know if I received the no visor very well either. It was super odd at the beginning, and hey, it's in my notes. You got to ask me about the no visor. Like I'm telling people you're coming on. What's with the no visor? I was like, well, part of me is like you don't seem to give a shit what people think about you in a good way, and that's like your style, your pads, maybe that ice hockey background with big pads and all the shit. But what was the no visor? Is that to help with vision and spotting certain tricks?
So there's a lot of reasons for the no visor actually. Um, but the main one is that like my legends, my inspirations when I grew up younger was like Dave Mira and Jamie Bestwick. Like Dave Mira was obviously the GOAT. All those video parts I remember watching like Miracle Boy and Nyquist. That video was like very inspirational for me as a young kid. And like Mira had no visor, and then I would do a lot of riding at Woodward Camp. My father and I spent a lot of time every summer at Woodward Camp, and Jamie Bestwick was there, winning every X Games, winning every Dew Tour, just like a god up there on the vert ramp. And he also had no visor. And then I would go in the skate park. I had a full face on because I was a few times smacking my face off the wood and off the concrete, and finally was convinced to put the full face on. But when I would try things in the foam pit, like if I was trying gnarly tricks in the foam pit and then smashing the head down, like the visor breaks off anyway. So I was like, my visor breaks off anyway. The legends of the sport are not wearing one. Like I'm not wearing one. And that's just how it became for me for years, just riding, no visor, full send, inspired by these visorless guys. So when I came into slopestyle, I didn't think it was going to be an issue because like if those legends don't wear a visor, then how can anyone talk talk any shit about visors, like so. So yeah, and I feel like what you said also about like the spotting, I came in doing like a lot of rotational tricks, and the visor would get in the way, especially with front flips. I was doing a lot of front flips and like I would just like you just go head first into the front wheel, and then the visor moves or breaks off. So, dude, there's a big list of reasons why the no visor thing has been my thing, but I've just stuck with it, bro. So
But that
yeah.
that is so funny because like the negative is like people feel you look like a kook, but literally
Sure.
Dave Mirra, Jamie Beswick, like I never even was like, wow, they look like kooks. Like I didn't think, but in the mountain bike, we try to be so cool, like come from like we brought some of the motocross stuff over and like in downhill, hope you did, let's get rid of the lycra, let's make sure like
Yeah.
sign a petition, let's keep the peak on. And it's just to try be cool for the brand, right? But you literally name so. I mean, if I was crashing and ripping peaks off, I'd probably just be like, I don't have 20 spare peaks per weekend. Like, what's the
Yeah.
point? So what were the guys saying? Like they're probably like just I guess like friendly banter about the visor, or just like, dude, you need to put a visor on. You're making us all look bad. Like, what was the chat amongst the guys?
I mean, amongst the guys, it wasn't like directly. I feel like it wasn't like targeted bullying at the visor or anything like that. I mean, overall, the style from head to toe was like outrageously bad. Like I was wearing big hockey pads. I still wear a lot of padding now, but the that was different level back then. It was like some big hockey shin pads, big like pants, like huge chesties. I don't know. I was just absolutely padded up, and then to add on top of it, um, just this no visor helmet. So I was just getting by the guy. The guys were just like flaming me for the style, like because I clearly just did not care about the style. I didn't understand um anything about looking cool on the bike, and also like the riding was so trick focused. So I don't know, having that banter about the style, about the visor, about the riding, all of that obviously has helped in improvements a little bit over the years in that sense. But yeah, I feel like it was like just those healthy bands of like, bro, can't be looking
Did
like
it
this out
feel
here on course.
did it fuel any of your fire a little bit? Like if you could win a comp or stomp a trick and be like, yeah, dude, well, take your no visor there. Like I just smoked. Like did any of it make you want to beat them more when they give you a bit of shit?
No, I feel like I was always so thankful for the opportunities to ride these big competitions, because especially coming into the mountain bike world, it was like I'd barely graduated high school. I didn't really know where my life was going. I felt like I was kind of changing sports. So I was like, I don't know what's going to happen here. So I feel like with the the slopestyle competitions that like increased in level and then increased in significance, and then eventually coming to stuff like district ride and joyride, like I was kind of less fueled up um, by like anger of people and everyone talking some smack. I was more like, holy shit, this is an incredible opportunity to be here. Like I'm here, and I gotta try to put on a show. Like I don't know if I got what it takes, but I'm gonna like put what I have out there on the line. So I feel like people kind of respected that aspect, that I was always kind of putting it out there on the line, whether it was a maybe not complete riding. It was still like just trying to put my best show that I could possibly put on out there, crash or not.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think you'll always be known for that. Like go big or go home, and always putting
Mhm.
on a show from the beginning. So what stage did you maybe feel that you could make a career of it? Like do you ever look back at that, or do you remember a time when you're like, shit, I can probably make a career of this?
I remember the first time I was at Joyride in Whistler, and I got an invite to ride Best Trick. And I did decently in the best trick. I got on the podium. I landed a big lawn dart front flip. I bunch of attempts at a cash roll, barely rolled out of one in the end. But then like the next day was the actual slope comp. Um, and I just remember being so incredibly inspired there. Um, on that day, like watching that comp, like seeing what was possible. I was like, I was just riding yesterday in this best trick, but like this would be like unbelievable to ride in. And then the next year is when I'm saying I got um, some invites to ride in like Crankworks, Les des Alpes, um, and I forget what other like big comps those were. But I feel like then in those moments I was like, oh shit, like I can make it here and then go to Joyride from here because of this. And then I'm on the whole tour and I'm basically out here fighting for a world championship. So I feel like in those moments it was, I don't know, I can't identify like one moment, because I was just, like I said, I was so thankful and so inspired for these opportunities that I was kind of like, let's just keep this rolling. Let's keep this moving. Let's see what we can do. Um, and then eventually like wins started coming and that was really crazy. So yeah, man.
It's pretty trippy, eh? Like if you're forced to look back, there maybe isn't the pivotal moment, or it's not just one moment. It's like you just keep looking ahead, like, oh, I can do best trick, which is maybe I can get an invite. Then you get an invite, and I think you subconsciously just start increasing your goals. Oh, maybe a
Yeah.
podium. Then you like suddenly win one. Oh, maybe a championship. And then before you know it, you've got the contract or the 3-year deal. You're a professional mountain biker, free ride mountain biker at that, which is pretty niche sort of sport, and there's not a lot of people that can make it good enough in free ride and slopestyle, really. It's quite a, I don't know, it's a fickle sport. It sort of chews you up pretty quick and spits you out hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely very, very harsh. And I feel like it's about the timing. Like you have to perform very well in like the right moments. Like there's these moments that get presented to you, and there's like these make or break moments of like whether it's a course that favors you that you need to make it happen on, or like a certain event where you need to get a certain result to make it to the next level. I feel like in mountain biking, especially like that timing, like when you're able to make things happen, that can like go a long way in certain moments. You agree with that?
Yeah, I'm literally thinking of the Eminem song. Like, do you play that before these big moments? Dude, it's like it literally is that. It can be make or break, but obviously in the moment you can't think like that. You know, and you wouldn't
Yeah.
have performed if you thought like that. So what do you rely on in those moments, those pressure cookers? Because you've brought that up, those big moments where it's your time to shine, or the course suits you, or you've got this trick in the bag that you can hopefully lay down that can get you a winning run.
Are you kind of asking like what is the most necessary thing for me in those big moments?
Sure, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, okay.
Like, let's
I was
get
just
into the head of Nikolai, like in those moments, or.
Yeah, I mean, I'm heavily fueled by the performances of the other competitors, which is why a lot of times that you see me getting very hyped during these other riders' runs when I'm competing against them, because I feel like in those competitions, like everyone's against each other, but everyone's like in it together. Um, and I feel like it can be very isolating if you let it be isolating, because you have no teammates. It's you against the course, and you could do the sickest run, and then the judges don't give you that good of a score. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you are just against yourself. You're going out there, you're trying to put on the best performance that you could possibly put and hope that you get rewarded for that. And like I was saying, you that can be very isolating if you get too much in your own head, too focused on like exactly the run, the performance, all of that. Like that can make you just feel like you're so alone there. Um, Whereas I feel like when you step back and think about how like that moment, that competition day like means so much to every single competitor out there, that like when these guys drop in, like when your homies drop in and like you're very invested in it, um, just like that level of hype and stoke for them is so high that like when you step up to the gate, like you don't feel isolated. You kind of feel like, let's go, boys. Let's do this. Like let's see you down. I see you down there. I see you at the bottom, whatever it may be. I feel like it helps not isolate you there, and that has always like helped me tremendously in being more motivated in the gate than being nervous and being like, oh, shit, like don't want to mess up here. Like kind of more like let's get this, let's attack this, and then let's kind of celebrate with everyone. It makes that start to finish experience much more rewarding, in my opinion. So that hype aspect for the other riders is kind of very important to me, bro.
Dude, I think that's a secret weapon. I mean, I've seen the hype, I see the videos, and I see it when you're watching the guys in practice and even in these big runs. You're authentically 100%, it's not fake, just like so pumped for them, and you can see the energy, and it makes sense that like it probably helps with your adrenaline, your positivity to like, right, fuck, that was a sick run. Let me go, let's get this. Like you say things like that. Let's get this. Versus, I mean, Emil is certainly tackling it a little bit differently, and Semenik too. Like, I'm sure he's happy for everyone. I'm not saying he's not, but I don't think that was his strategy during the week and during the day. I think he is probably more isolated, and maybe that's why it's so tough for some of these guys like Brett Reeder and Semenik to stay in the game so long. Because it's probably all consuming,
Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate to compete with some absolute legends like the ones that you're speaking about. Um, Guys like Emil, guys like Brandon, guys like Brett. Like I feel like while I've been competing, when I first came in, it was like Brandon was dominating. Then Brett and I had some crazy battles over the years, and now of course it's the world of Emil, And you are right that those guys like are more in their own world, but those guys are so determined for victory and for first place on the day. Like their determination is so respectable. Um, and they're just like kind of their attitude is a bit different from me. Like I get hyped, I get fired up by the other riders. That helps my performance. Them being like completely obsessed with their run that day, that win that day, that's what like allows them to do these runs that they're able to do, which is unbelievable. So like mountain biking and slopestyle especially, like everyone has that different fuel, and you just have to find your fuel and use it the right way. And we've seen so many different athletes do that.
Yeah, I mean, every athlete is different. You have to find exactly what works for you before a run, and maybe afterwards how you maybe let loose, and whether that's going out with your buddies or not. Like, I totally think it's quite a hidden art to figure out exactly what works for you, and you've clearly got that. To go up against that, you've almost gone toe to toe. Well, not almost. You've gone toe to toe with three generations of a different style of rider, right? Where where are you at with those guys? Like, what is it like competing against someone like Emil?
Competing against someone like Emil is it's like shocking. It's so shocking because like I was talking about earlier, it feels like when you arrive to the competition, it feels like usually it's a certain level of like we're all in this together, like you all struggle on a certain feature, or like there's like a kind of a common ground, and then someone like Emil comes along and just dominates. And I'm not talking about just dominates competition, I'm talking about like dominating the moment that they set foot on course. And like the guys we talked about earlier, Reader and Semenuk, they had that same element, like they show up to practice and they set a different tone, like whether they're trying to or not, they're like setting the tone. They're like, this is how we're gonna ride, like, and we're gonna ride to the best of our abilities. And it's just always so impressive to see not only like the skills, but like the attitude and the consistency and just like that continuous level of elite riding. You feel me?
I mean, I feel you. Thank goodness I was spectating. Like the level of consistency and and just it was a little different at times. And you had like these huge tricks and the hype and like, you'd get pumped for a run and then you would just sit and sort of calmly watch those runs and try like decipher what on earth just happened, whether it's switchfoot and things that even I'm there through the like I was almost at every Crankworks till about a year ago and
Okay.
really passionate about the slopestyle. Knew a lot of you guys, so it was totally different. And I must say, I mean, how do you not get kind of head fucked by it when you're like, these guys are so clinical? Of course, you're there to compete, so you want to do as good as you can. Like, how do you stay in your own lane versus getting like, you know, like having worries in your head about them?
I think it has to be an appreciation um, opposed to a jealousy, um,
Okay.
because you have to like appreciate those guys' skills because, like you said, if you see some of those guys ride, like whether it's practice, whether it's the run, whether it's warm up, whatever, whether it's a clip that you see from an edit or on Instagram or something, like in order to prevent that like jealousy and that fear of like, holy shit, these guys are unbelievable, I cannot keep up, you almost have to like have that appreciation of being like, damn, like that is incredible, the determination that goes into that riding, the like the personal flair, the style, like you have to have like the appreciation for that. And same thing goes for the contest run. Like someone lays down an insane run, like it's very easy to be like, "Phew, like I ain't beating that today, shit." But if you're like kind of there, fired up, like, oh my god, like he went for it, he risked it all, he made it happen, and he made it look easy. Like now it's my turn to like see what I can do. And I feel like you a lot of times you realize like you're in a more in racing, um, whereas the trick slope style level is like you got to just ride to the best of your ability, and you're always going to be the most critical person of your own riding. You never like as soon as you like decide how other people see your riding is when you kind of ride different. You just got to like ride the way you want to ride the way you feel like you ride the best, and then hope that like the judges and the fans and everyone out there is like stoked on that. Get what I'm
Yeah, but
saying?
you said, yeah, and you said something in such an interesting way, to not be jealous of it. And I think that's like the danger of comparison. And I think in all walks of life with social media as well, it's like obviously a dangerous place to just always compare to other people instead of like walk your road, walk your journey, or ride your way. Because those people, when they see your cash rolls and your Landard front flip, I'm sure they are very impressed as well. More impressed than you are because you're just normal. It's like normal for you, right? It's like routine to do some of those tricks. But other people just can't do those tricks. Whereas you're saying maybe you don't ride a certain way. Maybe you're not as fluid as some of these riders. That's just, it's not your thing. But by like making sure you're sort of impressed by it, grateful that like that you've seen it, like that's such a cool way to view it compared to, like you say, jealousy or like, well, I can't beat that. Well, how do you know? Like, how do you know the judges aren't going to score your crazy tricks higher?
Yeah, exactly. Like, um, it's just the best way to like better your own performance and also be stoked on the others because yeah, it's like I look at these riders that can do crazy easy tricks both ways. Like the opposites come so easy to them. Whereas when I was younger, I was spending like zero time on opposite stuff and like technical stuff. But I feel like instead of being like, oh, I'm so pissed that I can't do that, it's like man, that is difficult. That is highly skilled requirements. Like hats off to you, bro. So yeah.
Oh, dude, you certainly humble on this podcast because you won a triple crown against these guys. You've won events against these guys. So it's really amazing to hear you speak so highly of them when you've got world's first, so many of them. Like, I don't even understand half of what you do. So, dude, thanks, man. I think you're giving a lot of inspiration to other people to, yeah, man, like be impressed by other people, be stoked for other people, you know? Like it really is a better way to go through life.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's one moment um, that I'll never forget, and I think this moment um, helped me kind of be the way that I am, especially in slopestyle. And it was this one year in Rotorua. Um, I was working on the twister. Uh, I had done it in practice. I was planning to bring it out in the competition at Crankworks Rotorua. I remember in my first run, uh, cork 720 on the step down, blew up my tire, run over. So like that was the end of run one. And luckily we get two runs, but I was like, damn, like I didn't even make it past the first feature, and I got to make it through this whole run before getting to this last feature to even try this twister, you know? So I tried to stay very mentally composed. And I was one of like the first guys to drop, pretty much the first guy to drop in these second runs because they re-rack the scores, as you know, in Crankworks. So worst score from run one goes first in run two. I had blown out the tire in the first feature, so pretty sure I was sitting in last place. And I do the whole run, get to the end of the run, do the twister, under rotate it, blow out the tire, but ride it out and land it. And I remember the camera like went back up and all the riders were standing in front of this little screen, just jumping up and down, like celebrating me landing this twister. And I was like, we all got our runs coming up, you know, like they all have, like I'm saying, they all have these difficult runs coming up, but yet they're there in front of the screen, taking the time to celebrate for me in that moment. And I was like, how incredible is this feeling that, like, not only did I just land exactly what I wanted to land, but everyone that I'm competing against is celebrating for me. And I was like, if this is the vibe that we can have in this sport of slopestyle, like, this will be the best moments in so many years to come. So I feel like that moment, I think it was in 2016, if I'm not mistaken, that moment really did a lot for me. Just shout out to all those boys in front of the screen.
Yeah, man. I remember that moment, man. I was there. That certainly yeah, dude, I'm like kind of a loss for words because I was there and I remember how witnessing these world's firsts were, and I think it just makes me feel like you guys are just you're the only guys that can relate to each other. So that's so cool that you guys are there for each other. It's like, you know, I'm not akinning it to war or going to war, but some people do, you know, because only those few people that have been can relate to what it's like. And the same as slopestyle. I can compare, but I can't relate to a slopestyle run because I've never done one. And I don't know what it's like to lay your life on the line and throw these crazy tricks, you know, but those riders can. So they know maybe like the pressure you're under, the work you've put in the off season to come to this point. You know, it's not just a one day of work. It's like a lifetime of work to be able to throw a trick like that.
That's true. That's true. That's
So
true.
speak
You know something?
speak about getting to the point of throwing these tricks. Like, what does the practice schedule look like? Like, how much planning is there, or like, how do you come up with stuff like that?
Man, every trick has their own story, and I feel like these different moves also have their own paths. Like, there's certain tricks where you kind of learn it and it's kind of easy, and then you try it in a comp, and then whoa, holy shit, you land it, and then suddenly next comp it's not there anymore, and then you got to go like back to the drawing board and work out a different way. Like there's these different tricks have these different stories, and I feel like before certain competition, we know what courses are coming up. We kind of know what bangers we want to do, and all the training is like structured towards that, towards dialing in what you're for sure going to do on competition day, and then also dialing in or trying to dial in what you might do. You know what I mean? If the perfect situation, the perfect jump comes along, then you might try this move. So there's like a few different elements to the training, and there's always like a bit of just planning that goes on depending on what course is coming.
And at home, I mean, you've still got that crazy jump setup. Well, I mean, I've seen it a while ago in the
Yeah.
videos and stuff. Like your compound and your training ground. Like, what sort of time are you putting in there leading up to the events? Like, I don't think people see that and understand it as much.
Yeah, I mean, the compound here at home is a bit outdated at this point, but it has been used a lot over the years. Um, on one side of the house, it's a very BMX style setup. So it's like a 6 foot box jump with a 9 foot resi landing that goes into a quarter pipe to resi, and it also connects with the bull corner that goes with this big mini ramp thing. Um, and it was a very BMX based setup because when I was practicing in BMX for potentially competing in stuff like Do Tour Park and fees, those types of competitions, I was using that setup a lot. And then also coming into the mountain bike world, I was riding my hardtail a lot in that zone. And then my dad and I built this crazy off of the house setup on the other side of the house where it's basically off of the roof and the side of the house. There's this big 40-foot tall roll in into these two kickers onto an airbag, and then next to it is as tall as the roll in. So 40-foot tall tower with a big flat drop, and then like you can crank the flat drop back. And there it like unveils like this step down also onto the airbag. Um, and I'm actually going to be rebuilding it over the course of the fall, the winter, and next year. But it was used so much over the years for preparing for slopestyle competitions. There's one thing to have like a trick ready on a perfect jump, but then there's another thing to have these tricks ready for these big flat drops, big step downs, and big like super kickers. So like I'm saying with talking about the training, like just dialing in all the tricks that you are gonna do in the competitions and that you might do and hope to do, and that requires a lot of airbag time, a lot of soft landing time, and sometimes those sessions aren't that pleasant. Like airbag makes things pretty safe for the most part, but you still get whipped around hardcore in those sessions, so it's heavy.
Yeah, and it's all repetition for you, like muscle memory repetition. Like you're just doing up to hundreds of these tricks, like in a session, over like 2, 3 days. Like, what does it look like? Are you like pretty militant about it? Like, I got to get 3 hours in today, or do you go or feel like what makes you tick in these
There's
sort of practice sessions?
what gets me fired up is those full power tricks. I feel like there's different tricks that you can do which require more repetition, like your backflip double bar spins, backflip triple bar spins, people are doing 4 bar spins in backflip pretty easily now. Um, all those bar spin, tail whip combos, they require a lot of repetition because it's a lot of muscle memory. As you said, a lot of just perfect timing, um, feet off, hands off, just like figuring out that timing. That requires a lot of just keep doing it, doing it, adding an extra bar spin, adding an extra tail whip, getting comfortable enough in the rotation to add these extra things. Like that does take um, a lot of repetition, um, which I spend a bit of time on, but I'm, like I said, way more motivated by like those full power tricks, like 1440s, double front flips, twister variation, double backflip variation, moves like that where you're in the gate, you're breathing deep, you're collecting everything, your thoughts, your power, and just putting it all into these tricks. Because I feel like every single time you drop into one of those, there's this nervous feeling of it going horribly wrong. So that when your tires touch the ground and you're riding away from it, it's like this crazy hype feeling, but like relief feeling that you didn't just get fucked up from that move. Like the the whole process of those tricks gets me very motivated and very excited, which is why I think that's the moves that I like push for the hardest.
You think it's like a bit of an addiction, the feeling, chasing it and dealing with like all those fears?
I think definitely because continuously like being willing and not just willing, but being like fired up to take those risks requires like a bit of addiction because of like those previous feelings, like because there's it's unpleasant, it's super scary the feeling before and like the risk that you do take and when you smack the ground it's feels horrible like I don't know, example like Rotorua, I mean cans when I broke my wrist earlier this year, that's like a full power move, like twisting over that whole first feature. Like, so just, I feel like the fact that there's a lot of willingness there to continuously risk and go for that stuff. Yeah, that feeling is clearly pretty damn good when you ride away from these moves.
Yeah, man. Like the highs are super high and the lows are super low. Like with that injury, and I mean, it's just like you're on a knife's edge. It's like an inch or two this way, and you're riding away, and everyone's pumped. An inch or two that way, you're in the hospital.
Yeah, for sure. It's riding a fine line with the progression these days, man.
Yeah. So you've had the highs of highs, and now coming off, pretty gnarly crash and a long injury. So what was the mental sort of state like coming back from that injury or knowing like the season's kind of gone?
Yeah, it was different for me coming back from an injury. I've been so thankful for the situations over the years which I've been hitting the ground so hard and able to kind of get up and like dust off like and maybe be a bit sore but not have serious injuries. Like before this injury was like over 10 years since any sort of bone break last happened.
No
And with
shit,
like
really?
yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's
Dude, imagine counting how many times you've hit the
with
ground in 10 years. That's insane.
for sure. And like you've seen some of the slams, like you've been live at Crankworks, like some of those slams have not been chill. So,
Dude, no, I would say
like,
nearly all of them are not that chill.
yeah, yeah, that's fair. Um, but that's like I was definitely thankful for that. So I hit the ground. There's a lot of adrenaline pumping through, but I knew something was weird. I was like, "What's weird? What's weird?" And then I saw my hand pointing in the wrong direction, and then I was like, "Oh fuck!" But there's a lot of adrenaline, So I was just like, I just wanted to get off camera. I wanted to chill, and then and then they walked me down to the ambulance. They put me on the stretcher. They gave me this green whistle. So the green whistle, I'm not really sure what was in it. Um, but it was like the pain was still there, but like I just didn't care about it anymore. Um, like it, I could still feel it, but suddenly everything was fine. I was like, I think Tom Eisted and Ben Thompson and Paul Kuderk were next to the ambulance with me, and I was like, boys, like I just snapped my fucking arm, but like I don't care. I was like saying some shit like that they were saying to me. Um, but as I was in the ambulance and in the hospital, I was I was kind of like, damn, like this sucks, but it's been a long time that I've been hitting the ground and walking away fine from it. So like I'll take this.
Yeah, fair
And then
enough. Fair enough.
yeah, it made it. I feel like that makes it mentally easier for me because I see some of these athletes that have these injuries and they work so hard and put everything into a comeback and then suddenly another injury. And it's like it's just so unlucky and so unfortunate. Like injuries are such a shitty thing, I feel like. So I was like I was like, I'm fine with this. And I took my time, yeah, like you said, it ended my season basically. So I was just taking the time. Luckily I was still able to travel to Crankworks Innsbruck and to Whistler and be a reporter for the boys. And I feel like mentally that was humongous help. Because like if I had a injury on the lower body, which had me limited at home, sitting at home on my phone watching how everyone's having a good time in these places, like it would definitely be a lot more taxing mentally. Where I had a cast on my arm and I wasn't in the competition, but I was still on scene, and I feel like a lot of times like that just helps so much. So um, yeah, just taking the time, making sure everything is good, kind of trying to educate myself through the injury because I feel like I'm so good at crashing, but I was not necessarily good at being injured. I feel like some guys are specialists in knowing exactly what their body needs to recover and to come back stronger. Whereas like I know how to hit the ground and get back up, but this was kind of like oof, like I got to ask the right questions to the right people and really educate myself to like come back from this. And healing's gone really well. I did my first riding at Swatch Nines, which was like the perfect event to come back to. No pressure, um, very motivating crew of different riders to get back into it. So yeah, I mean it's going to be a huge delay for me since competing. Last competition in Cairns, and then next competition is going to be, I guess, next season in Rotorua to start the season. And I feel like I've been going for 10 years, every Crankworks and every competition outside of Crankworks that I can do. So it's definitely going to be some crazy feelings for me coming back. Because even the first riding again at Swatch Nines, I was just cruising the course, but I was in my helmet like, yeah, I'm fucking back, baby, let's go. I'm yelling like, just because I've never had that feeling of like coming back from that. So I feel I'm super excited for the nerves and the excitement that come with the first competitions back.
Yeah, but did part of you enjoy being back at the event because it's a good distraction, right? You're staying busy, but you didn't have to deal with the pressure. Like, did part of you kind of enjoy taking a break from the pressure? Have you been flat out for 10 years? I know I would have.
Yeah, it was. Um, there was an enjoyable aspect to it because yeah, I was like I'm here. This is insane. I'm still watching the boys ride. I'm still getting hyped for all these runs from the boys like I always do, but I don't have to drop myself. And it was like definitely a feeling of not having that like unpredictable nervous feeling. But like I was telling you earlier, when the competitions were starting, I was still like getting that kind of like nervous excitement. I was like, are we doing this? I don't know. It was also a crazy feeling for me to experience that competition start was just so ingrained in my memory and so ingrained in my body that I was like ready to go and fired up to go. So yeah, it was an enjoyable experience. But for sure I would be rather out there competing. So I'll try to keep it rubber side down and try to stay on the bike for next competition season, but not sure if that's going to be possible.
Okay, so you've got like a pretty natural sort of skill set and experience to do the presenting, and you got the hype, but deep down you're still like super motivated to get back out there and compete yourself, is what I'm hearing.
Well, so I respect the fact that this desire and this motivation isn't going to last forever. Like we talked about some legends that came before me. And I saw a lot of riders that were competing with so much motivation, were competing consistently, getting better at riding, and then suddenly, they're like, the motivation's not there to compete, and you want to do different things in riding, whether that's make your own event or make videos on YouTube or just go into like a more judging role. Like I feel like there's a lot of epic riders that I saw kind of be like, you know what? I'm good with this. I'm done with this competing. Um, and I feel like I'm still so motivated to compete and to push the riding and to get more podiums and wins and stuff. That like I need to respect the fact that one day that desire won't be there. So while it's still there and while it's still firing, I gotta go after it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, Dev, I think that's awesome. And what do you make of some of the sports greats and super successful in everyone's own right, like bowing out from the sport maybe earlier than some would have guessed? Like, why do you think that happens in slopestyle specifically?
I think it's because of what I'm saying. Sometimes you put so much into it, like every risk, like you're willing to take it. And um, I just feel like there's so much emotion and physical output that's put into the event, um, that at some point you're just like, I know how much I need to put into this, and I'm not willing to put that much into it. You get what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, definitely.
cause
Like
like,
it makes sense that it's a tough sport to stay at the top and to stay motivated and to be willing to you got to be willing to hit the ground hard. That's part of
yeah,
it.
I mean, you just like learn what it takes to put everything into it. Whereas like, yeah, just the mental and the physical perseverance that it kind of takes to put what needs to be put into slopestyle. So yeah, at some point, yeah, you're just not willing to put what needs to be put in there anymore. And then as soon as you don't put what you need to put in there, then it becomes like a very dangerous game. You take these unnecessary risks, or it just becomes dangerous game. I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about with like pushing it with
Yeah,
racing as well.
100%.
Like when you're not willing to put the work that you need, but then you still want to go 100%, like gets gnarly quick, no?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you kind of will start knowing if your heart's not in it, and that's where it's a dangerous, like one foot in, one foot out the door. And yeah, exactly. Maybe not putting the exact preparation in, but then you're on this big stage. There's probably the pressure, like 30,000 people at Joyride or whatever the number is. Adrenaline starts kicking in, ego takes over as well. Hey, I still want to be up there, but yeah, man, I hear you loud and clear. And it's no surprise. And I think it's natural. And I respect everyone that's willing to go on a different path. And the same in downhill. There's been some super successful riders like Josh Bryceland. I don't know if you know the name,
Yeah.
but like he walked away. Like he was like killing it, then had quite a gnarly, unlucky injury, came back from that and kind of maybe figured it wasn't for him, even though, man, if I had that talent, I would have gone longer, me,
Yeah,
myself.
yeah,
But I respect him more almost for walking away earlier than some would have expected.
for
So
sure.
it's sick to hear that you've just got that hype, that motivation. And willing to persevere. And I've read a little bit and seen the videos about you speak of your father and your upbringing and stuff. And do you think it's some of that he's instilled in you to like make you who you are, and his the work ethic, and apparently he would like make sure you still did your schoolwork even when he had you at these events back in the day? Like I kind of just like to dig in why you
Yeah,
tick the
yeah.
way you tick.
Yeah, my father is definitely a very interesting personality because he comes from a background of biathlon in Russia, where biathlon's a gnarly sport. It's cross country skiing. Then you got to lay down, be super composed, then shoot the targets. And if you miss the target, you have to go a longer distance. It's a very very gnarly sport, and he obviously grew up doing that in Russia at a high level, which means I cannot even imagine how gnarly the coaching was. Like, so
Why? Because of how he's a little bit with you back in the day.
just like that Russian um, coaching mentality of it's just so different than the culture I grew up with in the U.S. here. The U.S. is all about like uh, not insulting and like keeping it up, like good effort, good try, nice work. And like my father was always like making fun of that, like, oh yes, good try, you'll lose, like it's just like very different, the mentality of how strict he was. But this is why I say he's different, because he was so strict, but he was like taking me out of school to go to Europe to compete. And like you said, like I was in the airplane doing like my schoolwork the whole airplane, but I was like getting taken out of school in order to like pursue this um, career in competition. And like I feel like my father, because of the Russian way, was always like he had to be strict, he had to be hard, he had to in, almost never say like nice work, nice, that was awesome, like always just identifying the problems and like gotta do this better, gotta do this better, gotta do, you know what I mean? But we were like spending all this time at Woodward Camp, and he was driving me all around the states. So I was like, this coaching and this like this discipline is definitely gnarly and definitely tough, but I could obviously see that like my father is doing everything in his power to make me the best rider that I can be. You get what I mean? So it was like
Yeah, no,
it was a tough
I'm
relationship
wondering.
to have. Yeah.
Yeah, was it tough at the time? I can see that you appreciate it now, and like it's helped you get to where you are. Was it tough as a youngster to be like, God damn it, I just want to go for ice cream, you know?
Yeah. I feel, I feel like the hardest was during like the teenage years, during like those high school years where I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't believe this guy's doing this. Like, you know what I mean? Just like not seeing clearly and then clashing with my father. But then like I would clash with him like gnarly, but then he's outside building these immaculate ramps in the yard. So then once again, I kind of like fuck, like make me all upset and angry, but like it's obviously like just doing all this to make me like the best rider I can be. So it was like
Dude.
it was a tough relationship to have to like justify how it is helpful, but emotionally it was definitely difficult. But I'm also not going to deny that emotionally it made me like have that kind of strength that's required for competition and for the hardships of riding.
Yeah, but I think that teenage years is when you start thinking you know best a bit. Like that's when I think you fully appreciate your parents when you're young. Then there's these
Yeah.
teenage years where it's a bit iffy. And then like for me at least, like mid-20s, and then the later I got to my 20s, I was like, holy shit, the stuff they did for me, this is insane. But
For
there was
sure.
this time in our garage, like it just brings back memories. And he he'd wheeled and dealed, and he got us these like factory GTs that were like barely production. And I don't even know how he paid for them, right? And he always said to me, you and your brother have more talent in your little finger than I have in my whole body. Like, don't waste it. It was never like you didn't have to win. It was just like, don't fuck around, put the effort in. So maybe not like fully Russian, but definitely put the effort in. And then there was
Yeah.
this one time that he clearly didn't think we were putting the effort in, or we're pissing around, and came in the garage and he threatened to cut the bikes in half, and it was tools getting thrown. It was about the effort, not the results, because we were probably being
Okay.
cheeky. And I had the cheek to be like, I don't know if you want to cut the bike in half because you paid for it. And then the hammer just went straight in the
Oh
toolbox.
no.
And it was just like, if I look back, I'm like, it was so cocky. But I appreciate everything he instilled on me, you know. But at the time, you're just like, fuck, you know.
It's for
Just
sure.
want to go dirt jumping with my mates. Like, I don't want to go training or whatever it is, you know.
It's for sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you understand, bro. It's
No,
tough to, it's
I
understandable too. The
definitely, no, I
dirt kind of.
definitely understand. And Danny Hart, like, he's spoken about the relationship with his dad, and he was also like, did everything for him. And it was super hard, their relationship. But I think Danny then says, but I wouldn't be where I was without him and the way he was, you know,
Yeah,
whether I agreed with all of it or not. They drove us around and they sacrificed so much. Like, it's an unbelievable, like, selflessness, I think.
for sure. No, I agree. It was weird because I feel like there was times where I would be like at competition practice and my dad would be like pissing me off and just like saying things that like are making me angry and shit. And I'm gonna win this, and then I'm gonna show him. I'm not gonna talk to him or anything like this. And then like if any good result happened, he was like the first person that I wanted to be like stoked with, you know, like oh shit, like you see, you know what I mean? So it was like I don't know. It was like those feelings, those angry feelings that I had, like never triumphed like the ones deeper down that like showed me that like he was in it for me. Obviously, you get what I mean?
Yeah, man. Like, I think, I don't know if they were related, but it was like the fallout over the bikes. And then luckily I was too cocky and I reminded him not to cut them in half. So we still had bikes. So that was good. But no, I mean, I only like am happy with my childhood. I just, these funny times. And I think my 18th birthday, some friends influenced me a little bit too much and too many alcoholic beverages. It was like just before one of the big races. And obviously that, you know, that is a no-no if they're putting all this effort in and money to get to these races. So he obviously was having none of that. He was pissed at me. And then, but I think it fueled me because then I won the race by like a record margin back home. And it was kind of
Oh
like
damn.
me stirring the pot, you know. I was like, well, I still went out and won, you know. It was so bad, actually. Just you bringing up all these awesome memories, man.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy.
And
Sometimes
so,
the
yeah,
pops definitely draw that fire that you need inside you to perform crazy.
yeah, I think it's awesome, man. But so he helped build all your ramps, like, and still now, like, will he help build, like, if you revamp them and stuff?
He's out in California now on a house project,
Okay,
so I'm not sure if he will have the time, but I'll definitely like be consulting with him. I mean, he is like a house builder. That's how he made his life and career here in USA. So he's very savvy when it comes to building, and he was very smart in the travels when we were younger, like going to these skate parks and Woodward and things like this, and just seeing how everything was built. And like since he had building experience, he would like be able to see this stuff and take notes from it and kind of come home and be able to almost duplicate um, those ramps. So yeah, he's absolutely a boss of a builder. Some of the stuff that he makes, I question how he does it, but he makes it happen. Like I'm saying, like the crank back system for the flat drop and step down, like that is a weird, sketchy like system that I have no idea how he decided to make it work, but it works and it makes that setup extremely versatile. So that man's a wizard when it comes to some building. So hats off to him, bro. He's always leading the
that's
project, and then he
wicked.
just kind of tells me what to do. So
That's
so yeah,
wicked.
I'll be like, what are you doing? But like I won't ever question that he'll be able to get it done.
Dude, we built a jump into the pool. It was like a wood kicker, built it, whatever. I think my dad helped as well. Great. BMX down the side garden, down 3 steps, through a narrow gate, and into the pool. And like it would be like if we were having Friday night barbecue, then my dad's friends would come over. And he'd be like, "You guys should pool jump." You know, it was like we were like his circus animals, and we'd be jumping in the pool. And then we said, "Dad, can we build one out of dirt? Because we can get like, you know, the transition needs to be better. It's like it's shit. That's out of wood." Yeah, sure, no problem. He came home. We were wheelbarrowing from the side garden over to the pool area and up this little ramp. And I turfed, and I'm not joking, a full wheelbarrow full of dirt into our pool. It
No.
turned, I swear, dude, it literally turned black. And he just has to like understand. I mean, think about that. You come home and your pool's like literally brown and black.
Oh man, what a nightmare, bro. What was the reaction
dude.
to that? Did
So
you guys get complete...
no, like luckily he would just like it's kids being kids, like whether it was rugby ball through his windows or cricket balls, like if you long as you were being kids and you weren't maliciously breaking stuff, he just accepted it somehow. But it turned out we didn't end up having a dirt lip into the pool after that. We went back to wood.
Okay, that's a smart choice.
Yeah.
It's like you guys had like the Cam and Tyler McCall pool jump. Have you ever seen the clips of that? Like they had a crazy pool jump back in the day.
Dude, they had the not that crazy.
Okay,
a lot smaller, but yeah, I did flip into it, and it's into the shallow end. I ended up putting a hole in the pool. So yeah, no, props to all the parents out there that are either listening or kids that have parents that are letting them do crazy shit. Say thank you to your parents. More than you think you should. So
and parents keep pushing the little kids, even if they're little shits.
Yeah, exactly. Even if they're little shits, which they probably are, especially if they're 16.
For sure.
Oh my goodness! But so you were born in America, I presume.
Yeah.
But your dad's Russian descent. What well, how old was he when he moved over?
I think he was around 25 years old. So, I was born in the U.S. Both my mom and dad, born and raised in Russia in St. Petersburg, and then moved over to the U.S. Both on different fake marriages. Because Russia was
fake.
Because Russia was really hard to get out of. So, like my pops got out of Russia on fake marriage and went to Costa Rica, and then my mom got out also on a different fake marriage into the U.S. and then eventually through family friends and stuff they met in the States and started a life there. But Russia was just really gnarly at the time, and they just both saw more opportunity outside of Russia, so they just decided to get out of there, and then eventually we settled down here in Boston, and I was born and raised in the suburbs of Boston, so yeah.
And have you been back over the years as a youngster? Have they gone back, or because of how they left, it's not a good idea?
No, they've been back. They've been back a bunch of times. I have visited Russia, I think 5 times. I had a couple competitions over there in Moscow when I was a young BMX kid, probably like age 13, 14. You can probably find the clips on YouTube of visorless me just twirling around on BMX bikes somewhere in Moscow. And then I visited St. Petersburg a couple times to go see my grandma's house and everything over there, and see other family and all of that. And then we filmed a video with Martin Soderstrom and Specialized in Sochi, where they had the Olympics. So yeah, I've been to Russia a bunch of times. It's a very different place. Not sure if I could live there, but it's a wild place.
What Russia in general? for you, what, Russia for you
Yeah,
now that
Russia
being
in
born in
general.
America. But there's some incredible
Yeah.
places, right? Like I had a friend that went over there, and
Oh,
I
absolutely.
think it's like a lot of places. If you haven't been, you don't understand. You're just seeing stuff on the media, or you're getting a different side to the story until you go there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's different for sure. The architecture is incredible. Um,
Yeah, I could.
Culture is very different. Yeah, it's tough to go now, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't mean to be insensitive to everything that's going on now for everyone around that area. Yeah, fuck, dude, that's we live a very privileged life, not having to deal with that stuff.
For sure, for sure, for sure.
So, so changing it up a little bit, we texted a little bit after your Rampage commentary. You've done Rampage. You've got some famous clips which you have spoken about, which is one of the
Yep.
crashes where you didn't get that hurt, right? The crazy Rampage crash.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, like, you've dipped your toe pretty deep in the Rampage pool as a rider.
Hmm.
What's it like going back and being involved in the commentary, being on site? What are those emotions like? Because I haven't been on site. Um, I think I'm almost half too scared to see some of that stuff in person.
Yeah, Rampage is definitely a very unique event. When I was there, the event was different than it is now. When I was there, it was literally part of FMB World Tour. So I was not ready for Rampage at all. But um, I got invites because I was riding District Ride, Joyride, other crank works. And so I had the points to be in, and it was a diamond level event. So I was like, of course I go to Rampage. And then my dad was always on my dig team. He's just an absolute workhorse out there in the desert. There's some funny stories of him out there in the desert, just absolutely being a beast,
I'm
carrying water up
listening.
and down the mountain and stuff like that. Just like carrying the big buckets of water up and down the mountain, shirt off, like absolutely acting like it's no big deal. Just beasting his way around.
Did he do like 3 times the work as any other digger? Just be like, these guys, they don't know work.
Yeah, like, bro, uh, it would be like me and Reed and Ethan Nell were on Dig Team actually. Before Ethan and Reed started to get involved in Rampage themselves, Nick Hilton was also involved in that dig crew, another slopestyle rider. But it would be like Reed and I would go down to the bottom of the mountain and take like a 45-minute round trip and like both bring back one thing of water. And then Vlad would go 10-minute round trip with two of them himself, absolutely insulting Reed and I on the way relentlessly. And we're just like, we can't all be as much of a beast as you. No, so okay, we're talking about Rampage here, right? Yeah. Um, yeah, so we built the line, and then I had that egregious uh, crash where too much front brake, off the cliff, all of that. Luckily, I was unhurt. My bike was completely fine, miraculously. I scraped up my face because I was trying to like grab some bushes before falling off the cliff, and they would just fall away, and then I would grind my face on the cliff. And I had taken my goggles off my face that day because the light was all blown out and I couldn't see anything with goggles. But yeah, I was kind of unhurt from that crash. I think if I had been severely hurt in that crash, all my emotions about Rampage and going back to that scene would be very different, obviously. Because like I feel like the brain like connects with events like that differently. Whereas I go back and I'm like, wow, that was an incredibly crazy moment, but I don't have like PTSD or scarring from it. I'm kind of like, whoa, like I'm just thankful that I was fine from that, you know? But Rampage, I feel like, is very different now than it was back then. All the riders are much more prepared. All the riders have these beast dig teams that just do such impressive work all over the mountain. Um, So for me, going there and being involved in the media and everything was an amazing experience. I mean, uh, that media team like Salema and Cam and the other guys involved in that broadcast, like they make my job super easy. So that was super easy on that front. But it was just really cool to be able to react to those runs live on TV next to Cam, like super sick experience. And I would like to go ride that event as well, but I'm not exactly sure when. So would be stoked on doing the whole media experience again as well.
So what's it like working with Salema? Like he's quite a great in the world of presenting, you know, for action sports.
He is way too good. Like the voice is
Yeah,
so
what makes him
iconic, and
so
he kind of
good?
like run because I feel like just the iconic voice always has the right things to say, but also like he just kind of runs the show. You know what I mean? They're always in our ear, as you know, with the commentary. Like there's people in your ear, so you gotta like basically act like you're not hearing that and make the show flow how they want you to make it flow. And Salema is just an absolute pro at that, especially when it comes to Rampage. So yeah, he's uh he's a great in that field for a reason, for sure.
Yeah, no, it's really cool to see, I guess, for lack of a better term, mainstream Rampage as God and free ride mountain biking with some of those famous basketball players. I forget his name, but you went riding with him. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, Reggie Miller.
Yes.
Yeah, Reggie
Yeah, I
Miller.
don't follow it as big as some of you guys would, you know, if you're from the States. But I mean, he's a legend of that, and he's so knowledgeable about Rampage to see it cross over, and you get to have a little day riding with it.
Yeah, it was insane with Reggie. So Reggie is actually a big fan of like mountain bike in general. And over the years, I've had some crazy interactions with him. So um, he was like following and commenting on some posts over the years. And there was one time that saw that he was on Instagram. I saw that he was in Boston uh, for commentating a game. So I hit him up with a message. I'm like, yo, dude, do you have your bike with you? Like, let's go for a shred if you have time. And he's like, no, I don't have my bike with me, but like, here's tickets to the game. Um, and so he got me the tickets to that first game when he was in town in Boston. And then someone from his media team came to my seats. My girl and I were at the seats, and they brought us down courtside. He brought me on the court. He was meeting up with me. He was the most humble, down to earth guy. He's like the biggest legend, and he was like telling his coworkers like, "No, man, this guy right here, this guy's like Superman." And I was like, "Holy shit, man, what is going on?" Um, and then again this year, when I had my injury, he was announcing a playoff game in Boston, and he actually reached out himself like I was like I couldn't believe this message. I was getting these messages on my phone from Reggie, and I was like, no fucking way, dude. Um, and he reached out again saying like, yo, sorry to hear the injury. Would it make you feel better to come to the game? And I'm like, oh way. And then he's like texting me from courtside as he's announcing the game, like stand up. And then we're like talking across the arena, and he's just like a fan of the sport. So when the Rampage thing came up, the like video piece for Rampage, and I got to go out to California and ride his little riding loop, bro, that was like just absolutely unreal. I was like, there's no way this is happening. Like Salema, Reggie Mill, and me just riding some enduro trails here. Um, so it's really cool to see legends like that so interested in mountain biking and also such big fans of slopestyle, and like you were saying, so knowledgeable about Rampage, like a real deal fan. So, man, I was so stoked on that.
It's crazy, hey. Like there was a time Pastrana was at Whistler, and he was just riding with some of the downhillers, and then someone would gap some route section, and then he would stop and then say to other people, "Oh my gosh, should have seen how crazy this line was. This dude's crazy." And we were all just standing there looking like dumbfounded that Pastrana is calling a root gap crazy. But, for him, that's skill set.
Yeah.
He hadn't developed it. And it's so funny when you put these people on a pedestal, but like they've put you on a pedestal. Like you're the crazy guy. You're the Superman guy on a bike. You're like, no, dude, you're Reggie Miller. You Salema. Like, you guys are these icons. It's like real pinch me moments.
You full, yeah, exactly. That's the terminology I was looking for. The pinch me moments. Like, is this real life or yeah?
Yeah. And so did you come up with the idea, or is Reggie Miller connected through Salema or someone else already to the production, like that he was going to be involved?
So I guess he wanted to be on the Red Bull Rampage broadcast, and they were trying to coordinate possibilities for him to be on the broadcast, but then he had to actually announce some NBA games during Rampage. So it ended up being impossible. He was gonna
he wanted to be on the broadcast and like
role.
Yeah, he could have been like a guest for a bit on it.
For sure, yeah, something like that. I mean, he's been a professional broadcaster for the NBA for like, I don't know, 18 years, I think he said. 20 years? I don't know. So he's like fully pro in that sense. But they couldn't do it because he had to announce an NBA game the same dates as Rampage. So then this video idea came about where we would just like go on a cruise and kind of have a conversation with him.
Dude, it's so crazy.
Yeah, unbelievable,
two wheels. Yeah, it's crazy the opportunities two wheels can give you.
Yeah. He was saying he feels like the same fuel, like for mountain biking and for racing as he had like with basketball, with like that pain cave and all kinds of stuff like that. So crazy to see like a guy like Reggie so passionate about biking and about racing and stuff. And hopefully the sport just keeps growing, man. I think it will.
Yeah, no, definitely. You guys did a killer job. What would you say you learned like in the booth, and like to give listeners an insight into commentary? You spoke about a producer is often telling you stuff in your earphones. Obviously, no one can hear that, but you've got to be aware of what that is, not lose what you're talking about, and then decide how to bring that in, or you're going to commercial. Like it's a lot more complicated than people think. And I think everyone's pretty easy to bash commentary, but they don't really understand how difficult a job it is.
Yeah, you're so right about it seeming easier than it is. Like, and that's why people like to bash it a lot, because I feel like there's so much more that goes into it than you could ever think, starting from like the preparation. Like, you can't just show up on competition day and go in the booth. You have to like be there on site, following the stories behind the event. Like, you have to be so prepared before even the event starts, and then running the show with people in your ear. You just have to like make it so effortlessly smooth, which is why for me to see someone like Salema working is like, he makes it look like easy clockwork because he's so experienced with it. So just like gaining that experience with all the different elements that go into broadcasting is definitely quite a learning experience for me. And yeah, stoked to learn more. I feel like I'm in an easy role right now. They throw it to Cam, sets it up, they all set it up, and then I just kind of have to announce the action, and I'm ready as ever to announce the action. I'm fired up to announce it. But those hosting roles and stuff, that's when it really gets like artist work to really run the show.
Definitely. Yeah, they say they're kind of like throwing up softballs. If I'm in an analyst role, it definitely is technically an easier role. Hosting is, especially and Rampage, you guys have like a lot of dead air, and that's where Salema, like that professionalism experience is so helpful to you guys, because he's helping fill the dead air. So you guys
for
had a
sure.
really cool team with that. But it was, yeah, we were stoked. You got some good hype online as well, as you should, because I guess we want to know your opinion. But it's cool that you're like getting hyped because you are hyped, and that's exciting as well. Like people love that.
Man, I can't help it with getting hype. Like, I don't know if I hope people don't think it's like over exaggerate or whatever, but I'm like in the booth, I'm sweating, I'm shaking sometimes, depending on like I'm getting nervous, those stomach feelings for the boys, and yeah, like I just can't help it. I know, especially with something like Rampage, I just know how much every single one of those runs means to every single one of those riders. So like I just can't help it. I get hyped up, I get fired up, I get emotional, everything, bro.
And do you have any shit days? Like, do you have down
What do you mean?
days? I don't know. Do you ever have like negative days or shit days? Like where you're not hyped?
Um,
You're like, what do you mean? Do people have bad days?
that's an interesting question. I definitely have my moments. Like for it to encompass a whole day, that has to take a lot of shit moments. But
Yeah.
obviously, there's moments in there where you get like pissed off, or you're over it, or yeah. But thankfully, I'm pretty blessed with the life that I get to live. So every day is either encompassed by like training on the bike, traveling, filming something, or off days. So I feel like if I ever have a really off day, I gotta really take a step back and think about all those moments that I wanted to like have this as my life of just riding and competing for world titles, and just be like, gotta keep doing that, gotta keep pushing.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, you dabbled in a downhill race, didn't you?
Oh man,
Talk to me.
yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. I was not prepared for this. So I went up to the U.S. Open because U.S. Open is at Killington, which is like 3 hours from me. Killington's super sick mountain, honestly. Um, and I went up there with just like a jumpy downhill bike, the same downhill bike I rode at Darkfest. Um, and I
Same
was like, I'm
stiff
just gonna go check
suspension.
out this. Yes, bro. Yes,
You
bro.
should have phoned me. You should have texted
Bro,
me, man. I could have helped you there.
bro. So I get there because I just wanted to ride whip off, and I was like, maybe I'll like check out the DH course. And then they were like, we need to put a number plate on you if you are gonna ride the DH course, like for GoPro clips, for anything. And then I'm like, like if I'm gonna be GoPro on this course, I'm gonna have a number plate on. Like, I might as well just go all in, do qualifying, do the race, everything. Um, so then that's what I did. I didn't get any practice the day before the race, only race day, or qualifying day. I woke up, got the number plate on, went up for practice. I was with David Lieb, who's like done some racing in his time, but he's also mostly a slopestyle guy. Um, and yes, like you said, my bike has Dark Fest suspension on it, fully stiff with like a absurd coil in the back, so stiff in the front. My first practice lap, I had 40 psi, um, and then I was like bouncing around the course like a madman. Uh, like couldn't barely handle it, and like the laps were taking ages, so I was getting super tired on these laps as well. Like a top to bottom was killer. Um, And yeah, like I guess that course is pretty physically demanding from what the racers were saying, that US Open course. Like it's not the steepest course, so it's really hard to keep momentum. Um And then David Lieb and I ended up setting up this bet where going off qualifying times, then we would set up a wager, and then I would have to like beat him by like, or I would have to lose to him, but only by like a certain amount of seconds, and then I even lost that. But bro, I was like suffering out there, struggling, trying to find the lines. Um, yeah, it was a big struggle, bro. What do you think? You saw the GoPro clips? What do you think, bro?
No, I didn't. I don't judge. I think it's cool that you go and check it out. But I mean, it sounds like you might have. Okay, you didn't have the setup, but what about watching the big boys ride? Like, do you have a newfound respect now that you've like been on the same course and then you see their time? You're like, okay, these guys are hooking.
But I've always had such respect for the DH racers, and the thing that even inspired me to even think about this was I was in Leger this year at the World Cup. I was doing some social media work with Whoop. Whoop is like sponsoring the World Tour for the
Yeah,
first
yeah, I
time
saw
this
that.
year,
That's
and they have
sick.
the
Yeah.
live broadcast. Whoop is a Boston-based company, amazing product. So I was stoked to be with them at their first ever mountain bike event at the World Cup in Leger. And then that race ended up being absolutely insane. Like we had a French champion for the women, with a sick race for the women, and then Benoit wins it as the last rider down for the men, and then there's a full-on riot, and everyone's shooting fireworks and smoke bombs. Um, and it was just like one of the most electrifying finishes I've ever seen at any sporting event. And I'm like a big
Yes.
sports fan, like Boston, especially the city where I live here, is very heavily fueled on all their sports teams. So I can really appreciate like a good sports atmosphere, patriotic atmosphere. So then when I was there, like in amidst this Leger riot, I was like, this sport has just created this electrifying atmosphere that I cannot even believe. Like, this is so amazing. So I was like, I want to learn more about the sport. I want to learn more about what makes everyone the best of the best, like all about the line choice, all about the strategies going into the race. So then I was like, with US Open, I just decided, I'm just going to dive in and try to learn hands on. And it was funny just like sitting on the chairlift studying these GoPro clips, like, fuck, why did I go down there? Like, I gotta stay up. And then next lap, like, you can hear yourself talking, like, stay up, stay up. I don't know, just a very different challenge for me. And I was slow and shitty and had the wrong setup and everything. But that, like, learning experience um, was just awesome because, yeah, like, I respect that sport so much. And it's just cool to learn, like, what goes into it and be able to experience that. So yeah,
Dude,
hopefully I do some more of that. I don't know.
that's
It's tough.
sick. I think we should pitch a video. I'll come DH coach you, and we
Please,
get you
bro.
in a race, dude, with the bike set up, the lines. I'll ride with you. We'll get you up to pace.
Bro, I need that. I need to try riding clipped in. I've never even
Did you ride
attempted to
clipped
ride
in?
clipped
I
in.
missed that. You rode clipped
No.
in? Oh, you
No,
want to
no,
ride
no, no, no,
clipped
no,
in?
no. No, I'm saying I think it's a decent idea to at least try.
Dude, we got to do this. We're gonna pitch a video. We'll take that
Hell
offline,
yeah.
and we get you clipped in as well for the first time ever. You don't have to.
Yeah, everything.
I mean, this is
Okay.
a topic. I do think if you can get comfortable, I factually have seen that it's faster, minus your Sam Hill and a few riders, but there's some, the late Stevie Smith moved to clips, won a title. Josh Bryson moved to clips, won a title. I mean, it's just the proof's in the pudding mostly with the way the courses have gone. So
Totally.
we want to get you down the hill as fast as humanly possible. You might have to sacrifice and learn clips. There's a few things. I can expedite your training. I don't know if I want to get coached by you because then I got to go upside down again or do something weird. So it'll just be like a
Bro,
one.
you can get
It'll be
some
like a
flips going
one-way thing.
easy.
Nah, it's a one-way into an airbag
Okay,
maybe.
okay.
I'm old now,
Okay,
man.
okay.
We'll do some riding at Darkfest, and maybe we'll sneak off to the
Yeah.
DH track. But dude, that Leger event, like I try put it in my calendar because I was there for Wolves and Loic won, and there was top the first three were French, and I was like, you can't beat this. You actually can't beat this.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, the story of Benoit winning there, the cops thinking they were gonna stop the riot, like that to me was an
Yeah.
even better story. Like the 8 cops like thought they were gonna keep the crowd back.
No chance, bro. That place was pandemonium.
Insane, hey. And like
Oh yeah.
the chainsaws, like I think they're cool, but they're almost a bit much. They don't stop.
Yeah, they're relentless with that over there. But long live chainsaw, bro.
True, long live chainsaw. Yeah, no disrespect. So yeah, true story, dude. So you doing these other events like the backyard battles and stuff. You at the latest one. You've been enjoying
Yeah.
doing these more jam format events, like maybe less pressure, more just like ride and do the tricks you want to do in your own time.
Man, it's crazy to see the level ramp up at the jam events because that lack of pressure, I don't know if it's necessarily the lack of pressure or like that atmosphere of incredible riders having a session together, but like I was just at the backyard battle in Spain at Adolf's backyard. Um, and we had some bad weather conditions there, a lot of wind, some rain. But as soon as like the wind subsided and everyone got riding, the level like went up fast. And it was like there's nothing on the line. There's no competition on the line. There's there's no need for anyone to take risks, but everyone is riding like top notch, doing trains back to back, like with amazing riding. Just it really impressed me how at a like a non-competition, non-show setting, kind of dark fest vibe, where like the riding just keeps getting pushed and everyone is just like they're not doing it for any reason rather than just to ride to the best of their abilities, and it's amazing to see. What do you think?
I think it is a little bit the less pressure for sure, but it's just witnessing you guys at Darkfest and being involved a bit, like the energy is infectious. And it's like you being stoked for your riders at Slopestyle, like there is no like winner in a sense. So everyone's just stoked, and then like the energy rises and you're like, oh, he landed the trick he's been working on. Maybe I should go for that trick that I've been working on, in a simple way. I just see the energy rise, the energy ride, and the hype. And like it's an environment that breeds that sort of riding.
Yeah, totally. It's like that. It's almost like a jealous motivation in a good way, you know?
Yeah, well, there's
You're
ego.
like you're like if
There's
yeah,
ego
yeah,
involved, then I guess if you mention that word, right?
for sure. Yeah, the ego comes into play. Like, oh, he flips that, I flip it too easy, or
Yeah,
like he
yeah.
flips that, I do this, and it's just it's really cool to see. It's like it's almost like it is jealousy and there is ego into it, but it's like that healthy competition, you know? It's like um they're
Well,
not
that
doing it to like put each other down. They're just like elevating each other's riding with this back and forth energy with some of these riders. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the ego drives progression in a sense. Like, why else? Like, there is a certain of competitiveness and wanting to do better and wanting to be better than other people. Like, that's sports in a nutshell. Whether it's a
For
jam
sure.
format and a judge format, downhill racing, like there's ego involved in everything. And the ego is the enemy. The ego is something you use as fuel, and it gets you to the top of the mountain. But left unchecked, it can bring you down. Like you said earlier, if you're maybe not in it for the right reasons or not putting the preparation in, but you think you can still compete, that's the danger side, right?
Yeah, exactly, honestly, bro.
So how? Yeah, so that is a challenge, right? For like Darkfest. So you ride Darkfest, right? And
Yeah.
at what point do you check yourself and be like, okay, maybe that's not totally my event versus a slope style? Like, how do you not get caught up in the hype of these events?
With Darkfest and Slopestyle, it's like different but similar in a sense because you're still risking and you're still pushing yourself, but in a different sense. Like we do some big moves at Darkfest, but they're not as technical. They're risky moves, you know, big jump, big consequences, but probably will be fine. You go for it. Whereas I feel like with slopestyle, it's pushing the tricks, you know, like you're not necessarily scared of the feature when you're going at it, but you're scared of what you're gonna do on the feature. Whereas something like Darkfest, like you're scared of the feature. Like this year at Darkfest, I went for the 110 and I did one speed check and I looked at the jump and I was like, I can't do another speed check because then I'll just do a million speed checks because this jump looks so insane and so there's so many risks involved in this jump that if I don't go up and do it right now, then my mind will never be okay with the risks. You know what I mean? There's like
I understand that fully.
Like you get what I'm saying, right? There comes to a point where you like overthink it too much and you're like, nope, I can't. And then sometimes even when you say you can't, you push through, that's when like you make some big mistakes. So the reason why I'm saying that is I was so determined to hit this jump, this 110, and I go up. Don't want to follow anyone because of the slipstream and everything. So I go up, I hit this line, hit that big step down going into it, and I case the step down. And then I was like so determined that I was like, I don't care. I go for it. And then I go off the 110 and I thought I was going to eat the back of the landing. And I like barely greased the top, like barely made it. And then I got down, I did the rest of the lap. And then I was like, I'm done. I'm done for the day because it was like that feeling of having to do that jump right there made me make like a very dumb decision to hit that jump even with the case on the step down before.
Yeah. Because of your
I feel like
your level of commitment at the top, just you're like, I have to do it this one. Crazy, eh?
For sure. So I feel like that's pretty rare in slopestyle. Where because you're not scared of the feature, like if you get the setup jump wrong for your trick, you're like, okay, next lap. You know what I mean? You have to like get the setup right. But at an event like Darkfest where there's so much risk involved, like sometimes you kind of like turn your brain off or like persevere, like push through moments where you shouldn't. So yeah, the pushing like is different in those two environments.
That's super interesting. So, you know, normally if you case a setup, you're like, damn, like pull out, right? But you're at the point like you're like, I can't do another speed, like I can't not do it now because then I'm gonna overthink it. So you just like fully push through something that, like you said, it was actually stupid. Like, of course you don't want to, you can't case the setup jump in a 110 jump. But
yeah,
it was like forced yourself to muscle through, and it could have ended way worse instead of like technically going up there and doing it the next run. But you were just worried you're gonna now like overthink it.
Yeah, it was like for a split second, it was like my brain was like, I'd rather case the jump than pull out of it, even though pulling off guarantees your safety and casing it is almost 100% chance to not be okay. So it's crazy how with mountain bike and with environments like that, you like convince yourself to do some crazy shit.
Yeah, well, yeah, man. But I do agree with like not thinking and subconsciously like letting your skill set, you know, figure it out. Like that is better than overthinking it. You might have just gone to the extremist of the extreme with that one. Did you ask anyone like speed check or like, okay, so what if I hit the step down good, it's no breaks? Like, did you, because you said you didn't want to follow anyone. So did you just watch people or did you ask someone at the top, like what speed you need?
Yeah. No, so I stood beside the run in and watched like I think I watched Reynolds and Daryl Brown hit it, and I just looked exactly. I was studying what they did in the run in, like position wise, like body position. Because with speeds at that high level, it's not just like oh go. It's like the difference between a speed tuck like this and standing up like this might be like the difference between a crash and a successful jump. So I
Y-
was just like standing beside the jump and I was like watching and I was like looking exactly what they did in the run in. And then I saw like pretty big speed tuck. Like I said like I don't know, 90% speed tuck, I think is what is the determinant. So I just went up with that and I was like that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to land this step down and I'll do 90%. And then after I cased, I obviously did 100, but it was still almost not enough.
I love that. It's like a perfect step down, 90% tuck should be good. Right, I'll case it and then hopefully I mean, yeah, I mean you're obviously laughing at yourself right now. But
Bro,
I remember that case actually. It's all coming back to me. That jump's disgusting to watch. Like, yeah, I did. Yeah, anyway, good for you guys. I'm glad you ticked that off. That is a monster. You coming back this year?
yeah, for sure.
Sick.
What about you?
Yeah, yeah. I'll be there. I certainly will be spectating the 110. I rate. That's for sure.
Oh
We're
yeah.
just talking about the ego. I have to keep it in check. But no, the weeks, it's such a cool vibe. And the top to bottom of that place is it's hard to describe that feeling. Like, it's just quite a surreal course, like how big it is, but then how much
Yeah.
it flows when you do it top to bottom.
Yeah, it's like when you get to the bottom, it's like that feeling of disbelief. You're like,
Yeah.
that was so gnarly, but that was actually so good. How is that possible?
But like on, I don't know, other jumps, like you say, slope style, like you're not scared of the features and stuff. And then other courses, like once you've done them once, it's like, okay, I'll just do them again. And if you do bigger tricks, obviously it's scary. But like I've done it a few years now, and I don't know if other people feel like that. But into the rocket launches, I've done it like 10 times that day. And then the 11th time, I'm like, well, I kind of hope this goes well this time because this jump's huge. And then it goes touch wood, like semi decent. But it's
Yeah, yeah.
just so, I don't know. It's very hard to get comfortable, I guess, on those, well, for me at least, on those jumps.
Yeah, I mean, some of the guys are almost riding them with their eyes closed and flipping everywhere and stuff. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous to see the skill level that comes out on courses like that from guys like Cade and Sam and yeah,
Yeah.
just insane the comfort level that gets reached.
Yeah, so insane. So what does the next year and next couple of years look like for you? Like what do you think what do you think you still want to accomplish in your career and maybe be known for?
Hmm. I'm very motivated to just keep pushing my riding and keep pushing slope style tricks and runs and everything. The thing that I'm still most passionate in riding is like creating the most insane slope style run. I just feel like there is almost no level of like hype and entertainment like a insane slopestyle run when the top guys are battling like the top to bottom bangers on everything and like an unexpected banger in there or at the end. Like I think the level of hype that provides for the person doing it and also the people spectating is like unparalleled. um and Yeah, people since I've been injured, they've just been saying that they miss the energy and the hype that I bring, and that's just something that I cannot help but to bring. So as if people are stoked on that, then I'm gonna try to keep bringing my energy and my hype as long as I can. But there's a lot of tricks that I still have battles with and that I want to do in runs, like the double front flip. A few of us tried it last year. We couldn't get it done. It's such like a trick that would be so insane to get in a run. The double backflip 360, I've been doing it at shows for years, and haven't been able to perfect it enough to do at a competition. So there's like these rotational maneuvers that I would still like to put into a competition run. Like 1440, I've put into district ride runs, but that's at the end of the run after the elevator trip, you know? So it's different to like put it in the actual run. So what I'm saying is I'm going to continue riding shows like Masters of Dirt, because that puts me in an environment that I can do those big tricks all the time. And then I'm going to keep riding as many Crankworks events and as many gold events as possible. And I'm really motivated by that younger generation of slopestyle riders, North America, Canada, and Europe. Some real beasts coming up. And I would love to be there on scene, riding with those young bucks as they make their names known in this sport, because that's very motivating as well. And yeah, I'd love to also do more freeride stuff like Darkfest, and events like that are incredible and cool to be a part of. And that would lead me towards potentially being ready to do another Rampage one day.
Yeah, another Rampage. You think like work on the big bike stuff, like that's still something that you like the challenge of, and like for like sort of rounding out the skill set?
For sure. I mean, I do proving grounds every year, and that's kind of Rampage style. That's kind of more big slope style, but has some Rampage elements. Thomas Janon, he gives me so much shit every year at Rampage. He's like, Nikolai, I cannot believe that you do not ride here with us. And I'm like, Tommy G, bro, like, what do you mean? He's like, I cannot believe. Like, he just like gives me so much shit, and saying that he's just like saying he's in disbelief about how I'm not out there riding Rampage with them. So I would love to at least like give an opportunity, to take another opportunity to put the time in necessary for Rampage, get comfortable in that Utah zone, do some big drops out there with Reed Boggs. He's always building some crazy big step downs and drops out there. So yeah, that's a bit of my motivation. And then I love the media stuff, as we talked about very early on. I love the media stuff. It gets me super fired up, kind of just like riding does. A lot of devoted mountain bike fans come to me saying that they really enjoy the insights that I have to bring, and that's very rewarding to hear those things, as I'm sure you know, because you hear the same. So yeah, just kind of trying to do everything I just described, and
dude, I can't wait to see it, man. I can't wait to see the hype, see the tricks, maybe some that I don't even understand. Like a double backflip 360. When does the 360 rotation, does it just happen while all the flips are happening?
Dude, it's
like, when does it happen? I'm kind of a bit lost trying to understand that.
So it's happened earlier and earlier over the years. So it's when I first tried that trick a few years ago, I tried to do the 360 in the very end of the rotation. So it would look like single backflip, and then in the middle of the second backflip, I would start this spin.
Yeah.
But there was like the rotation was dying at that point, you know? Like at the end of the rotation, it would be dying. So then I realized, like, shit, if I start this earlier, then it'll be easier. And then I found this perfect point where it's like I do half of a backflip, then the 360 happens. It looks like cork 7, and then I go into another half backflip. And I found that was the perfect place for the rotation. But it's so hard to be patient enough. Because right now, lately, the last times I was doing it, I just rip the double backflip as hard as I can, and then I just rip the rotation right off the start. And I try to be patient, but it's hard. Like it's hard for your mind to wait for the spin because it wants to get the spin done so bad. But the spin ideally works exactly in the middle of the rotation, but I think it almost has to happen in the beginning at this point. So, bro, that's what I'm saying is these tricks are
Yeah.
they take time to figure out, and they each have their own
Yes.
story. Like they kind of change and stuff. So yeah, like I said, I'm gonna try to keep figuring it out and make it competition ready.
Yeah. So it's super big trial and error. So you're hoping to then come out of a backflip, like an actual backflip rotation into the landing. So you're not kind of coming sideways. You're just hopefully coming in. Do I understand that correct?
Yeah,
If done correctly in your mind, the last half is
exactly.
just like coming out of a normal backflip and riding away
Yeah,
straight.
so the trick, if it works perfectly, it feels almost too easy because you pull as hard as you can for the double backflip, and then you're so in the double backflip that like extending and spinning your body like doesn't hinder the rotation at all. So you just like kind of open up, get the rotation done, and then go back into your double backflip, and you can come out of the backflip pin. You can come out of the trick pinpoint straight as if you never spun in the first place. It's a very
I'll just trust
crazy
you with that.
feeling.
I'll just trust you with that.
It's like
you,
you
you
know
love.
that's like aerial skiing, like when the when they
Yeah,
do
they're like, bro,
like
bro, bro, and then they just.
yes,
Yeah, I think you need to
it's
show
an
me a clip.
aerial
Yeah,
skiing type
yeah,
of physics. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Oh, mate, I cannot wait. So, what do you want to be known for? Like, say, like 10 years time, and maybe you sipping some vodka on your porch, maybe not riding anymore. Like for the bangers, the hype, winning a triple crown. Like, what do you want to be known for in the sport?
Hmm. That's honestly difficult to say. I'm pretty stoked um on how people perceive me now. They consistently are saying that they love the energy that I bring and they love the hype that I bring. And like I said, that's just me being me. So that's obviously awesome to hear. Um, I think it would have to be like what I would like to be known for is like a mix of like always putting on a show and always bringing others the energy that they need to also put on a show. You feel me?
Yeah, yeah. No,
Because
I hear you.
I love that I love those moments when all their eyes are on you. They're like, I can't wait to see what he does, and then you go out there and you still make them say like, "Holy shit!" You know what I mean? Like when people are expecting something insane and they still are like, "Damn, that was insane." Like that's that's what I want to like bring to the viewer. But also, I feel like there's so many amazing riders and talents in this sport um, that need a bit of boost in certain ways sometimes. That if I can be there with some the hype and the energy that those riders need to perform the way they want, I think that would also make the sport better in all ways. You know, so yeah. I feel like this sport is individual, but the less individual you try to make it, the sicker experience it end up being. You feel me?
Dude, I feel you, man. That was epic to hear you communicate like that. Like I agree, man. Let's grow the pie together. I love it. I think people can learn a lot from you away from riding and riding. Like, why not be stoked for other people? Like, it's just a better place to be in the world, you know? Let's uplift everyone. Bro, dude, I'm hyped. I was hyped on that conversation, hyped to have you on, dude. Thanks so
Oh
much for
yeah,
making the time, man.
dude. Thank you for having me. I think we had a long talk, conversation about a lot of different things. So good to talk to you in depth about this type of stuff. And you better not forget about that race training, bro. I need it.
dude, we got to make it happen. I'm all for it. Let's do it. If you want to sneak away from Darkfest, we can do that. But I think there's a project out there. I really think there is. I think it'll be sick. I'll think about it. We'll go offline with it. All the listeners, dude, thanks so much for all your love and support. Go hit up Nicholi, give him some hype for what he brings to the sport and brings to the fan base. We are on YouTube, so if you prefer watching it, seeing some of our expressions, because the hype man was there, giving it his all, even on a podcast, Moving the Needle podcast. Go share some stoked, and then dude, the best thing you can do is share it with a friend. And thanks to Nicholi, bro. Thanks so much.
Cheers, man. That was rad. Talk soon.
Yeah,
See you at Darkfest.
yeah. Till the next one. Peace.